Ancient India was a land of countless small villages. Life in these places was simple and revolved around the changing seasons and the needs of the community. People lived in close-knit family units, where elders were deeply respected for their wisdom and experience. The village was largely self-sufficient, producing its own food, clothing, and tools. Daily routines were dictated by the rising and setting of the sun, and the social fabric was woven with strong bonds of cooperation. This was a time when the community's well-being was considered more important than individual desires, creating a very stable and predictable way of life for many generations. Spirituality and knowledge were the cornerstones of this ancient society. The Vedas and Upanishads were not just religious texts, they were comprehensive guides for living a righteous and meaningful life. These scriptures contained hymns, philosophies, and rituals that shaped the moral and ethical values of the people. They offered answers to profound questions about existence, duty, and the nature of the universe. Families would often gather to listen to recitations of these sacred verses, which were passed down orally from one generation to the next, preserving a rich cultural and intellectual heritage that continues to influence India today. Central to the preservation and spread of this knowledge was the figure of the guru, or teacher. A guru was more than just an instructor. He was a spiritual guide who nurtured the minds and souls of his students. Young boys would leave their homes to live with their guru in an ashram, a place of learning and discipline known as a gurukul. Here, they learned not only scriptures and mathematics, but also the values of humility, respect, and self-control. This system ensured that knowledge was not merely memorized, but deeply understood and integrated into one's character, preparing students for a responsible life. Daily existence was deeply intertwined with nature and a sense of the divine. People saw gods in the rivers, mountains, and trees, and their festivals were celebrations of harvests and the cycles of nature. Simple rituals marked the important stages of life, from birth to death, reinforcing a sense of order and connection to the cosmos. This profound respect for the natural world and the emphasis on a disciplined, community-oriented life defined the very essence of ancient Indian society. It was a foundation built on wisdom, faith, and a deep understanding of human interdependence, creating a resilient and enduring culture. As centuries passed, many of the small villages grew into powerful kingdoms. This was medieval India, an era defined by the rule of kings and emperors. Rulers like Ashoka, Chandragupta Maurya, and later the Mughals established vast empires that brought different regions under a single authority. The king was the center of power, responsible for justice, protection, and the prosperity of his subjects. Grand courts were held where decisions were made, and a system of ministers and officials helped manage the affairs of the kingdom. The lives of ordinary people were now shaped by the policies and ambitions of these powerful monarchs. This period was also a golden age for architecture and the arts. Kings and wealthy patrons commissioned the construction of magnificent temples, forts, and palaces that showcased incredible skill and creativity. Structures like the Taj Mahal, the temples of Khajuraho, and the forts of Rajasthan are enduring symbols of this architectural brilliance. These buildings were not just homes for royalty or places of worship. They were grand statements of power, devotion, and artistic vision. They attracted artisans, poets, and musicians from far and wide, turning royal courts into vibrant centers of culture and innovation that left a lasting legacy. Trade and commerce flourished during this time, connecting India to distant parts of the world. Indian merchants traveled across land and sea, carrying spices, textiles, and precious gems. The markets in cities like Surat and Calicut were busy, noisy places filled with traders from Arabia, Persia, and Europe. This exchange of goods also led to an exchange of ideas, technologies, and cultures. New foods, customs, and words were introduced into Indian society, making it more diverse and cosmopolitan. The growth of trade brought great wealth to the kingdoms and helped cities grow into bustling centers of economic activity. Life for the common person became more complex. While many still lived in villages, the growth of cities offered new opportunities and challenges. A distinct urban culture began to emerge, different from the traditional life of the countryside. People in cities worked in various crafts, trades, and services, creating a more specialized economy. Society became more layered, with a clear hierarchy of nobles, merchants, artisans, and laborers. This era of kings and commerce was a dynamic time of expansion, creativity, and interaction, which added new layers of complexity and richness to the fabric of Indian civilization. The arrival of European traders, particularly the British East India Company, marked a significant turning point in India's history. Initially focused on trade, the British gradually gained political control over the subcontinent. This period of British rule, known as the Raj, brought about profound and lasting changes. The British introduced new systems of administration, law, and education. They built railways, telegraph lines, and canals, which connected different parts of the country in unprecedented ways. However, these changes were primarily designed to serve British economic and political interests, often at the expense of the Indian people and their traditional industries. Life under British rule was a mix of opportunity and hardship. While the new infrastructure created some jobs and the English education system opened doors for a small Indian elite, many people suffered. Traditional Indian industries like textiles could not compete with cheap machine-made goods from Britain, leading to widespread unemployment among artisans. Farmers were often forced to grow cash crops like indigo and cotton instead of food, leading to famines and poverty. A sense of being treated as second-class citizens in their own land grew among Indians, fostering a deep desire for freedom and self-rule. This growing discontent gave rise to a powerful movement for independence. Leaders like Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, and Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel emerged to guide the nation's struggle. Gandhi's philosophy of non-violent resistance, or satyagraha, inspired millions of Indians to join the freedom movement. People from all walks of life, students, farmers, women, and workers, participated in protests, marches, and acts of civil disobedience. The fight for freedom was not just a political battle, it was a movement to reclaim India's dignity, culture, and future. It was a long and difficult journey marked by immense sacrifice. Finally, on August 15, 1947, India achieved its independence, but it came at the cost of partition, which divided the country and caused immense suffering. The end of British rule was the beginning of a new chapter. The nation's leaders were faced with the enormous task of building a modern democratic country from a society that had been deeply affected by colonial rule. They had to create a new constitution, unite a diverse population, and lay the groundwork for economic and social development. This period of struggle and transition forged a new sense of national identity and a collective determination to build a sovereign and prosperous India. Today, India is a vibrant and rapidly changing nation, a landscape of bustling metropolises and evolving traditions. The quiet villages of the past now coexist with sprawling cities like Mumbai, Delhi, and Bengaluru, which are hubs of technology, finance, and innovation. Life in these cities is fast-paced and full of opportunities. Millions of young people move to urban centers seeking education and better careers in fields like information technology, engineering, and medicine. This migration is reshaping family structures and social norms, creating a new urban culture that blends Indian traditions with global influences, seen in food, fashion, and entertainment. Technology has become a powerful force driving change across the country. The widespread availability of smartphones and affordable internet has connected even the most remote corners of India to the digital world. From farmers using apps to check weather forecasts to small business owners using online platforms to sell their products, technology is empowering people in countless ways. Digital payment systems have transformed how people handle money, and online learning has made education more accessible than ever before. This digital revolution is fueling economic growth and creating a more informed and connected citizenry, bridging old divides. Social media has emerged as a major platform for expression and social change, especially among the youth. Platforms like Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook have given a voice to millions, allowing them to share their opinions, organize for social causes, and engage in public discourse. Young Indians are using these tools to raise awareness about important issues, from environmental protection to gender equality. This has made society more dynamic and participatory, though it also brings challenges like the spread of misinformation. The youth are no longer passive recipients of information. They are active creators and shapers of the national conversation. At the heart of modern India is the energy and ambition of its young population. With more than half of its people under the age of 25, India's youth are its greatest asset. They are educated, globally aware, and eager to build a better future for their country. They respect their heritage but are not afraid to question old customs and embrace new ideas. This generation is navigating the complexities of modern life while holding on to the core values that have defined India for centuries. This beautiful balance of continuity and change is what makes contemporary Indian society so resilient and hopeful, ready to write the next chapter of its epic journey.